When has someone made you hate what you loved, liked? My outfits when I was around 12. I really liked them so much. When I went to another school. The other girls in my class dressed differently and eventually told me I dressed weird. Came home and begged my mother for new clothes. I grew up playing basketball. Loved it for years until in high school I joined a new team with a new coach. Abused all the players in multiple ways and killed our spirit, love for basketball every practice, game. I think the entire group of guys stopped playing ball after that year. When a friend asked me why I liked York peppermint patties so much, how can you eat that? It's like toothpaste robed in chocolate wax. Done. I loved watching BBC's Sherlock when it was new. I thought the first season was phenomenal. Then one of my longtime friends decided that depiction of Sherlock Holmes was who he wanted to be in real life. Despite being an insecure little asterisk, he pretended so hard to be a terrible person and obviously couldn't back up his ego with Holmes' level of cunning, that he actually became one, and I had to get out of that friendship to save myself. Now when I look back on that show I think of my friend. When I was a kid my best friend at the time would make fun of lots of things I would show interest in and it would make me embarrassed to like them. So I started just doing what she liked so she wouldn't make fun of me. I really liked Joe Jonas in middle school. Then my best friend decided she liked Joe Jonas too. So then I had to either like the same person, or choose a different Jonas brother to crush on. I mean, obviously we couldn't share him, so I weighed my options. I thought Nick seemed too young and cute, so I chose Kevin. No one likes Kevin, so he was the safer choice. Then Joe and Nick both got hotter and I was stuck with Kevin. I started to dislike them all together because I felt like she stole Joe away from me. Middle school was a weird asterisk time. When I was at high school I was a member of the Sea Scouts. I must have been too enthusiastic about it as a friend from school joined. Which at the time I was quite happy about. They then told others in my class about it. Who all joined. Including a group of girls who bullied me relentlessly. It went from being my safe place to me dreading to go to weekly meetings and eventually quitting. My ex and his superiority complex just about made me stop reading psychology books. Because he always would argue with everything I learned. It took ages for me to realize that he didn't actually know anything about psychology. And that he just liked feeling more intelligent than anyone around him. I loved curry ketchup until my daughter pointed out that it tastes like raisins. I don't know what the psychology is there. Well, if your mother had just tried this all-natural cancer treatment she would still be alive. 3 years later still hate her. Slightly paraphrased. Context is she was very condescending when talking about it. Painting. A few years ago I used to literally spend all day painting until a friend of mine told me my paintings were bad. I'm overly sensitive and haven't painted since then. When I was little I really liked piano. So I started learning how to play it. My mom always wanted to stay in front of me while practicing cause she liked classical music. I felt really uncomfortable. I couldn't remember any of my songs and got anxious every time she would listen to me playing the piano. That's why I gave up. I was hopelessly addicted to drugs for most of my 20s and didn't realize that despite me being the protagonist in my own tragedy. It was the innocent people around me that were the real victims of my addiction. I had this realization after watching two brothers that used to be my friends completely destroy their family and dragging everyone around them down until there was nothing more to be destroyed. It was heartbreaking seeing the innocent family trying their best to keep the brothers away from drugs. Only for it to backfire and make the situation even worse for everybody. They made me hate drugs that were the one thing I absolutely loved at that point. I managed to get my addiction and life back on track and I'm doing good now. But holy asterisk, seeing that really changed my perspective on how and what makes drugs so destructive. My ex made me quit drawing for a good 4 to 5 years because he said fan art is a waste of time, but when I showed him some of my original work, he just laughed at it. I always loved photography ever since my dad bought me my first camera. It was shaped like Pikachu and put a cute Pokémon border on every photo. I had aspired to become a photographer in my late teens. I quit my retail job to work freelance photography gigs. I wrote for a local online editorial about the people of our community. Then later I took a job as a portrait photographer to learn more about the field. Well, it was asterisk. Working on commission. Basically endless driving. Get bit by bugs in shady cheap motels. It really sucked the passion right out of me. After I quit I sold my prized possession. My DSLR. To this day I'm not quick to pull out my phone to get a good snapshot. But I'm recovering slowly. I'm more into living in the moment now, rather than sharing my experiences with others. But I feel my spark slowly reigniting. Finally.